Assalamu alaikum everyone. Take greetings of the day. This is me Anhara Maksud Ohi, team member of Turshin, and also we have.
Hello everyone, this is Fariba Hassan, HR Manager of Pradesh, your host for today.
Well, today's episode is going to be a little different because today we will not talk only one issue, but we are going to talk about two issues. And the issues are social media marketing and culinary industry. And the one who has been added as a special guest in today's episode is none other than Madiha Turshin. She is currently the creative director of Yum Moments, a contemporary platform for redefining food styling concepts and documenting gastronomic journey in storytelling. Her journey from being a food artist, also a photographer, to a social development specialist and social media marketing intern indeed shows versatility. Now let me welcome Madiha Turshin, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. This is Madiha Turshin. It's nice to meet you all.
Hello ma'am, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you all doing?
We are fine. So how's your lockdown going there?
Well, it's the first day back to work, so it's the usual. So work from home.
Okay ma'am, so let's not delay and we would like to ask you some questions about social media marketing and culinary resources.
For
So
sure.
here I go. Okay, so ma'am, we have seen you love to explore much. From social media development specialist and social media marketing team intern to a chef, you're a food critic and also a photographer. As such, what really has motivated you to explore more career options rather than not to choose a specific job and to go with the flow?
So, growing up, I knew that I was always creative. It was within my blood, it was within my family, typically my mom's side, which was basically surrounded by creatives and intellectuals. And just by watching my surrounding, I knew that it was by blood. I was kind of like inbred into it. And I knew deep down that I wanted to be creative. And I started cooking when I was 11-year-old and more enhanced into when I was 13 after coming here. I got more seriously into it. My biggest inspiration is my mom because she's the one who taught me from the start. And one of the first thing that I learned how to make was basically a shobji tarkari. And when I was learning that, it kind of made me feel that, wow, this is something that's so therapeutic and I want to do it more often. And thus started my journey, right? When I was in college, I initially went for bachelor's of business administration in finance and management. And then I knew that at some point around 2015, I was having an existential crisis thinking, what am I doing with my life? It's not something I wanted to do. I don't know where I'm going with this. And then I swapped around programs a little bit. I did English for a bit, psychology for a bit. And finally, I knew that I was getting more interested towards media studies. And that's something, at the time was really sort of, rising to the prominence, right, of pop culture. And that's the way I wanted to take. So I switched my program to media studies and history, met one of my mentors there who turned out to be one of my professors and then became my senior research supervisor. And I did a project with him for my final year thesis on food history, while everybody else was working on like Holocaust or any kind of genocide or social issues. But I wanted to make a serious topic interesting, and that's what I wanted to do with culinary, and that's what I wanted to do with digital media and digital marketing. Make the serious things interesting, and that's so I decided to go that way, and that's kind of where I explored. Thank you.
Okay, so much. Thank you so much, ma'am, for explaining the question to us. And I'm moving on to my second question. As a chef, you had a chance to see culinary industry closely. What are the possibilities of this industry which will attract you to build up their career in this industry?
So I tell this to everybody. And when I say everybody, anyone who knows Madiha Turshin knows this about me. They know that I tell them food is a necessity. And I tell them that cooking right now is a necessity more than ever. Before the pre-pandemic, everybody was going outside and eating. But when pandemic hit, So did everybody's bank account, right? And at that time, with only limited resources, you could only do so much, right? So I recall during the pandemic last year, I taught two of my friends on how to cook. These guys never touched a single, they never had to work in the kitchen. They never needed to. But they found out that it was really, really useful for them to know. And what I deeply believe is that the pandemic has shaped the way people look at food and the way they devour it. We're talking about the youths of our country. Looking at Dhaka, I visited last year and I looked at the way people eat. I looked at the way people talk. I went out to different places, including Jatra Biroti. I went there and I wanted to see what is so interesting about that place. And I've never been there before this time. I came to Dhaka when I came to Toronto when I was 13. So I barely, left home before that. It was really risky for people like us to step out of home anyway. And I found out that with the rise of TikTok culture, like social media merely only saved the declination, the declining of home cooking. More people during the pandemic were cooking as ever. More recipes. When you type Bangladeshi cuisine on TikTok, you come across like deshi fish. You come across like koi macher tarkari or like some sort of bhatta or even shutkit tarkari. And when you see all of this, you feel great. And for a country like Bangladesh, there's numerous possibilities that are slowly rising when it comes to food blogging and food vlogging, catering to an event, or even starting your own shop. As a chef, I want to bring that progressive innovation to the country once I've finished the culinary industry. But I know that it is up to me and my people to make sure that it's only ever evolving for us.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, ma'am.
You're very welcome.
On to my question. Ma'am, do you think restaurant industry will grow more if we focus on the presentation rather than we should make the quality food and promote it?
Hello?
Okay, I'm repeating the question.
Yes.
Ma'am, do you think our restaurant industry will grow more if we focus on the presentation, or rather we should make the quality good and promote it?
In the words of a food connoisseur, quality trumps all, and it will always trump all. If your presentation of your dish looks impeccable, and but your main ingredient is not up to the par, to the diner's liking, so what good is it, right? So quality is really important. As much as you want to make your plate pretty, it's really important. This kind of takes me to my next answer, which is when I work on my young moments content, I end up tasting my own food mostly, right? Besides family and occasionally friends. And it is really important to have the quality in what you make and present it the way you would eat it to your diner, right? And you wouldn't just give an underpainted canvas painting to your curator, right? You would be like, okay, you're an art collector, here's a painting for you. It's not fully done, but here you go. So you wouldn't do that. And that's the same concept with food, right? You have to make sure that every part of it is complete, starting with your quality.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you for explaining this so beautifully to us. And my next question is Bangladesh mapped and served on a plate. In this specific article written by you, which was published in the Daily Star, you have embodied Kishwar Chaudhary as a revolutionary figure in the culinary world. In your opinion, ma'am, what strong message she has given to the South Asian housewives who thinks that working in a kitchen has binded their freedom?
I love this question because I deeply respect the woman. She is like my soul sister whom I've never met, and I'm hoping that one day I do. Kishwar has done what I have been dreaming to do. Since I was 13, I knew that I wanted to make a difference in my country. And considering myself as an individual that believes and harbors equality, I'm proud to believe and admit that it had to be her. She's the person who put Bangladesh, that mapped Bangladesh on the plate. And somehow in the matter of fate, it was her. It was her. She was the chosen one, and she's the one who got to do it. Being a mother of two is a daunting job, especially when you have a passion for cooking. Another laborious task, second to raising children. When I was researching about her article, I was really appalled at the way People failed to take away the rawness of her dish, and there was this collective remark about why she was promoting panta bhat, a basic dish, to the grand finale. What people forget to basically understand is that the whole concept of panta bhat is to show that this is a nutritional dish. People back in the day would have this smoke water rice the first thing in the morning to nourish themselves, to cleanse their soul, to cleanse their insides, and to get ready for the day. You need that first dose of carb during the day, and that's what I think people fail to notice. And just also adding to that, this is our one of our national dishes, and to see that in a very sort of condescending way, and to collectively remark on someone who has not only put our country's name on the map and on the media, it just shows that it's an insult to the culinary industry, and we don't want that, right? Yeah. So I think it was really remarkable what she had to say, because she showed that you can have best of both worlds. You can be unapologetically you, and that is something I feel most youths really need to strive to be unapologetically you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You explained this question so beautifully to us, and I hope the youth have understood and they will do the same. Okay, ma'am. So my next question is, how does social media platforms play an influencing role in one's life?
So when appropriately used towards your audience, towards your target audience, it yields result. I will use my young moments as an example. So I started this journey last year, sorry, 2020 actually, so 2 years ago. So on May 11th, around 8 p.m., a friend came to visit, and we were in a parking lot drinking coffee and talking about our futures. So I told him that, hey, I wanted to do something with my life, but I'm not really sure it's what I want to do. And I started to explain him the idea, and it was so nice to have someone listen to you and listen to you intently about the things you're passionate about. And I always found myself coming up with all these brainstorming ideas when I'm around others and sharing my ideas with them. Not fully, but just the gist of it. And I found out that night that I came up with the concept of Yum Moment. I went home and messaged some more friends, and I started up my Instagram page. And that started my journey. My only initial idea at that time was to redefine the way people look at food, redefine the way people look at our culture's food, and how to better plate Bangladeshi food in a more sort of fine dining concept. And I don't think anyone has ever thought around that line, because one needs to have both hands-on experience as well as a knack for it in order to think like that. And I believe that there are a lot of young individuals back home right now who are watching this and are probably feeling in the same way I did 2 years ago. And at that time, I found out that audience was the first thing I put my mind to. When it was asking me to set up ads, the first thing that I had to look at was audience. Who are my audience? Who am I making this for? Where are these audience? It will always come down to the people who are looking at your content. And as a culture and social media enthusiast, I believe that audience is a vital key to our content.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for answering this question. It was a really important one among all this. And my next question is, what are the possibilities of social media in future in case of online marketing?
With the rise of digital communities becoming more central to customers' lives and identities, it basically allows a lot of emerging artists and writers to to portray and feel towards the content that they have, right? And feeling in a sense that you feel accomplished when someone looks at your work. You feel accomplished when an art curator or an art collector buys your work. You feel great. And with the rise of NFT, someday in the future, if someone buys your digital art, you're not only yielding money, but also self-confidence within yourself, right? With online marketing right now for Bangladesh, food business can hire a professional to support their businesses, focus mostly on personalization. With a country that's so eventful and so filled with events all throughout the year, I believe that online marketing is only ever booming in my country. And it's gonna take up. It's really slow right now, but as they say, slow and steady wins the race.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for answering so many social media contents to us, which made us clear the concept about it. So my next question is also related with social media, and that is, what are the most effective tips for social media marketing in your opinion?
Most effective tips, as I previously mentioned, audience is really important, the demographics and specifically the psychographics. When we talk about personalization within your audience, it's really good to know what you're doing. Who are your audience? What does your content say to your audience? Yes, we know it's your content, but what's in it for me? The world will always revolve around, if you're doing someone a favor, they will always ask you, what's in it for me? And it doesn't always have to be it doesn't always have to be like tangible, right? So in this sense, when we talk about effective tips, number one, know your audience. Number two, make sure that your contents make sense, make it concise, make it easy to read. If something is too wordy and all over the place, nobody would be interested to read that. And we live in a very hyperactive generation, and where everybody only has like a attention span of 30 seconds. So whatever your audience can get out in 30 seconds, you have to think like that. Think of all your contents as if it's an elevator pitch. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, ma'am. And as we are youth and we are living in that generation that we are in lockdown in house and we can't get out, so we only use social medias all the day. So I think it's an important platform for all of us if we want to promote something.
For sure.
So ma'am, in social medias, we all know that quality content is a must, but we also need to focus on quantity to maintain the algorithm of these platforms. As such, how to make a balance between quantity and quality?
A good way that I do my content marketing and planning is through Planner. If I don't use any sort of personalized planner, I create my own. So I would have a content planning that says, okay, on Monday to Friday, I need to post, and how to better plan than just planning on a sort of a Excel spreadsheet or any way you want note taking, and you write down that what's the first thing you want your viewers to wake up to. Oh, it's a Monday morning. What's the first thing that they're going to wake up to? Or Sunday morning in Tata's case, what is the first thing that they would wake up to? And ending with Friday being the last day and saying that, okay, this is how we're ending today. So repetitiveness is something that I have often seen that bloggers and most content creators do, is they repeat something over and over. If you're having a contest, what better ways to promote than to be creative in every way? If you post the same thing 5 times in the same day, expecting your contest to rise, it's not going to rise, because you're using the same image, you're using the same keywords, and that's not yielding you any results. So that is where quantity falls in place here. You have to be consistent with how many times you post. So for me, I post about 2-3 times a month. And because I also sponsor my ads and everything, it's a lot of money there, right? So when you have to put in money into your ads and everything, you really have to think about how you're spending it, how much are you spending, who you're spending towards, and what are you spending on. And when you take all of those into consideration with your content, putting one egg, no, not putting one egg, every eggs in one basket, but putting something on the quality, putting something in the quantity, and making it even. So if you guys are following the moments, you will realize that all my contents have a little brief story. And if you notice like how they're constructed, every line, every row tells a story about one dish, but in 3 different images. So that's the key, because you don't want to bore your audience. You want them to be engaged and to be wanting more. You have to tease them a little bit.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now we know your way of posting on social media. So, ma'am, you have been residing in Canada almost for decades. What major changes you have seen in today's Bangladesh comparing with school days of yours in this country?
Very tricky question. I left Dhaka when I was 13, so it's been, yeah, a little more than a decade. But if I have to say, I was very privileged. I was brought up really privileged. I was given, every sort of privilege a girl can get. And when I look at myself and I reflect on the times when I was in Dhaka last year, I want to add this, even though this doesn't fall under the talk show questions, but I visited the Ganges, the Buriganga area last in 2 years ago. I visited that area and I spoke to a woman about her menstrual cycle. And I asked her, "You live in this area, and I want to know that how do you drink this water? And how do you live in this disgusting area that smells like crap all the time?" And she couldn't say anything. It just made me feel so sad at how helpless this woman was. And I asked about her kids, and they were playing crickets outside. I have a photo of them, and I'm going to share them with you later. But when I asked the kids about their experiences, it's that sense that they kind of have to be contented for the way they live, just for the reason that they're breathing. And to be able to see that and to see the way I was raised, I never would have thought that way. But I did. I don't think anyone ever planned to go to Dhaka and take the first trip to the Ganges area. It stings there. And when I saw that, and in addition, I speak to my cousins about the way the education system in Dhaka is, the education system in all over Bangladesh is. And I think one of the reasons, one of the pressing concern that I've heard from students, and specifically like people close to me and people I have interacted in Dhaka over the last 1 month, is that there hasn't been a lot of consistency in the online learning. And this has to do with basically a barrier of how we use technology. We have a generation in Dhaka that's extremely proficient with technology. And then we have the other half, which are from our parents' generation, who barely needed technology, and they still don't need technology, but to them it feels like they're being forced to have technology in their life. And they seem to have been doing fine for the last 40 years, but all of a sudden now they have to use TikTok. No one wants that, right? And when I saw that, I realized that there needs to be a sort of a more practical learning approach. When I was going to school here, I was taught about equality from grade 9. I was taught about all kind of gender issues from grade 9. We had to take CPR classes for, any sort of sexual assault or anything that we come across, and we were told to get a certification for it. In Dhaka, I don't think when I was studying there till grade 7 had I ever had an opportunity to take a CPR test or to learn about who I am. Right? And I feel that those kind of insecurity builds upon the youth, and that's why they're so insecure of coming out into the society, because they're scared who's listening to them. And I feel one of the ways that can be improved is through the practical learning. There needs to be a platform for the creative just as much as there is for the business students, just as much as there is for the science students, just as much as there is for the architecture student or the engineering student or the students going to the medicine or the psychology student. Everyone is a student at the end of the day, and you can't differentiate one from the other in that way. They're all students, they're all important, they're all brainy, they're all creative. All we have to do is give them an open platform to express themselves.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for explaining this to all the audience who are watching this live right now. So, ma'am, I'm gonna give you a situation right now. You're going to have to answer that. So, suppose you're a career consultant. If anyone comes to you for a suggestion, in case of selecting their career, which sector you will highly recommend? Will it be any corporate job, or we will suggest them to follow their passion with less salary?
To be honest, I would do neither, because it's really not up to me to decide what anyone's future is. Because it took me 7 years to figure out that, hey, I wanted to study media studies and history, and then jump into becoming a chef, and then jump into becoming a writer. If I'm so hyperactive with my own selection of my career life and kind of binding it all together, who am I to select for someone else, right? But what I will tell them is to follow their passion and to be unapologetically themselves. Because once you're unapologetically yourself, no one can take what you have against you. And you have all the tools of what it's to be. So I will help them. I will help them as a career consultant to bring out the best in them and then say, There you go. I will show them to the right direction, but I won't tell them, because that's for them to tell themselves, like, yes, I did a good job today. Looking in the mirror, I did a good job today. Her words make sense. But it's comes down to the person at the end of the day of what they want to do.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for explaining all these concepts to us so beautifully. This time I'm going to our next segment, which will be managed by my co-host Anhara Muksadoi. Anhara, please.
Thank you so much, Fariba. The next segment is much awaiting viewers interaction. So let's take some of your questions. Well, Rina Taslima wrote that what are the challenges of social media marketing? Ma'am.
So, this is a very tricky question, and I don't even have a definite answer, because the answer is always changing. The answer is always changing with the trends. Yesterday, I was reading this article that talked about the first ever online platform, creative platform to go live, an NFT creative platform called Nifty that went live. And there was this bunch of articles that I skimmed through about LeBron James and him promoting something. So I didn't quite deeply look into it because it was really late at night. But what I got out of is that it's exponentially growing, and some of the challenges that people might face is maybe like the idea of decentralized and centralized sort of platform. And I realized that there was this one article that talked about how most companies are more focusing towards decentralized platform for social media to have a better sort of reach and conversion rates. But looking deeply into that, there are some challenges with the way things are being promoted. So the evolvement of technology, the evolvement of AI, those are some of the digital transformation is a big problem when it comes to social media marketing in the future, with the progressiveness of new technologies coming in, new apps coming in, and to be able to adapt to that. But
Thank you.
sorry, you
Yeah.
have to keep reading. You have to keep reading to know, what challenges are your business and you are more likely to face.
Thank you, ma'am. Now let's come to the next comment. Zobar Bhai wrote that how would you define fine dining?
I would counter question this and say, how would you? But given the question is towards me, but how I would define fine dining is not the way the contemporary world has shown us before. See, how I see cuisine is not only just the way we eat, but the way we look at food, the way we perceive. So when we talk about fine dining, the way I see fine dining is the etiquette of eating something. That doesn't mean that using a fork and knife every time. So if I were to have a fine dining restaurant, you'd be eating with your hands. So, but the idea of fine dining concept comes to me as respecting and understanding and experiencing a dining experience of some sort, and taking it all, to enhancing the entire experience towards you. I went to a restaurant, I tried a filet mignon, and it was really good. But what I liked deeply about the food was the way the caramelized onion looked, or the way they blanched the spinach or the vegetables, or you notice all these nitty-gritty details. Those are what I define as fine dining. Yum moments is what I define as fine dining. Thank you.
That's really amazing, ma'am. Now let's take another comment. So Shahriar Hossein said that, ma'am, could you please suggest some books which can help in improving understanding of market segmentation or finding niche?
Finding niche. Okay. So a good place where I really go for my sort of understanding of social media marketing is not through books, but actually through blogs. So SEM Rush is a good platform to understand market segmentation and to understand, what your market needs and how to better deliver, your content. Another one is Hootsuite. I'm pretty sure majority of the audience might have heard of these, platforms. But if you go and Google Hootsuite or even SEM Rush, you will come across, or even Moz. Moz is a good website to understand how digital marketing works. One has to really explore through different platforms to see what better fits them. when people ask me for, ideas or even advices on digital marketing, I will tell them that I can give you plenty of advices, but it's which one that cater towards you, right? Every business is different. Every ideas are different. They're all unique in their own sense, and they all have their unique market segmentation. And one of the best ways to understand is to read those blogs and watch online videos on how these market segmentations are adapted. One thing I have realized this year is the platform for MailChimp has improved. The 2021 version is it's really sleek looking. You can directly send email, and now you can actually set up your own website through MailChimp. And I've seen the way website templates look, and they're all wonderful. So be sure to check out MailChimp. It's free. It's free for the beginners, so please feel free to use it, and that will really help you understand what your market segmentation is and where you're looking to take your business.
We will surely check out. So now let's take another comment. Is achieving a Michelin star the ultimate success point of a restaurant? Michelin star, sorry.
Zubair, you're full of questions today, and I have some answers for you, though ones to an extent. Well, I don't believe that. I don't believe that earning a Michelin star is the ultimate success to the culinary industry, because knowing myself and knowing the people I look up to, there were a lot of professional chefs, a lot of prominent figures that actually gave away their Michelin stars because they couldn't keep up with the pressure. And I feel like Michelin star is basically a recognition, but because of the origin of how it comes about and where it comes from with the whole blue collar sort of experience, it kind of shows a lot of colonialism, in my opinion. There's a lot of colonialism that's attached to it, and that builds upon the pressure on these restaurants that are trying to get the stars, and only few achieves it. And I don't look at it that way. I don't think that Michelin star is the ultimate success. What I do believe is the ultimate success is to keep your restaurant running till the end of the day. If your restaurant is running on day 1 to day 365, you're doing a great job, regardless of Michelin star or not. If there's a huge line outside your restaurant, that's Michelin star to me.
Yeah. So let's take the last comment of today's live. So Shahriar Hossein said that, ma'am, do you think there's a scope of SEO in Bangladeshi market in the near future? Since people here in our country don't use Google that much for regular necessary searches till now.
Great question, Shahriar. As previously mentioned, when we talked about the schooling system in Dhaka, that is what I was actually reaching out to, is that we need a practical approach. Students that are going into marketing, students that are going into even say motivational speaking or anything for that matter, even in architecture or engineering, everywhere you need SEO because you are doing something that caters to your audience, that caters to your customer, that caters to your clients. And you have to fish through your clients in the future through that platform. And I know that with the whole rise of decentralized platform, we are going to be going there soon enough. And when you say that people in Dhaka don't use Google, I can counter question that and say, why don't people use Google? But I am also aware that there is a portion of my country that don't have access to internet. And with the rise of the pandemic, that problem rose even more, and especially amongst youths to be able to attending schools. And another problem that rises with the internet is the sort of inconsistency of it in Dhaka, right? 1 minute you have the Wi-Fi, next minute you don't. You're using your external data or something, and it's not a good experience. But what I do believe is that the higher authority, whoever is in control of the education system, whoever is in control of the way technology works in our country, or even the youths that are implementing these changes, I highly, really, really suggest that you look into the individualistic youth and see what they cater to, what are their needs, and based on that, act upon them. Because today's young youths that are asking me this question are tomorrow's future. in our country. Today they're asking me these questions, tomorrow they're proving that. And we need to be able to give them a platform for them to prove that I can do this, I will do this. Not even I can, I will do this. I must do this. And if people think that way, job can be done, right? And with the rise of SEO, yes, I have seen the way people in Taka work, and it's been remarkable. I live in Toronto, and looking the way social media works in Taka, I am proud to say that you have outdone yourself with social media creation, with content creation, with graphic designing. It's colorful, and I want to see more of that. But what I'm missing out is the whole SEO aspect of it. Not a lot of search at my end, not a lot of search results at my end for Bangladeshi businesses or Bangladeshi startups, and I want to see more of that. And I believe that if we all work collectively together, we can all achieve it.
Thank you, ma'am, for beautifully answering the questions. Thank you so much, viewers. That was the end of our comment section. Hope you all will be with us till the end. Now moving to our next segment, which is the yes or no, and I am giving the floor to Fariba.
Okay, ma'am. So this is one of our fun segments. Hope you will also love it. So here comes the question. In this question, you will have to answer it either in yes or no. So here I start. So, ma'am, just like I said, this is gonna be a fun segment. Do you manage stress well?
Do I manage stressful? No. I don't think any of us do.
Okay. My second question is there any regret in life that you could have been better without it?
Is there any? Could you repeat the question, please?
Is there any regret in life that could have been better without it?
No, I'm not a person of regrets.
Okay. Are you a foodie?
Yes.
Okay. If you have to stay in a place without internet for 1 year, will you do that?
Yes.
Okay, ma'am, that's a wonderful question for all of us who are using mobile phone for 24 hours a day. Okay, so my next question is: Do you think being viral? Do you think being viral is everything?
Do I think
being viral is everything?
Being viral is everything? No, you have to be real, not viral.
Okay, that was so nice of you, ma'am. Moving on to our next segment, which is rapid fire, and I'm giving the floor to Anhara Muqtadahi.
Thank you, Fariba. So, ma'am, this segment requires a simple rule. I'm gonna ask a question which you have to answer in a word or a sentence. So, shall we start? Okay. So, the first question is, which street food of Bangladesh you love the most and you also want to see in Canadian streets?
Chamuri.
Wow, that's amazing, ma'am. Now let's come to the second question. If you ever get a chance to make a fusion food, which country's cuisine you will choose along with Bangladeshi food and why?
I would use Thai. I would use Thai because it's very similar to my country's food. They use a lot of vegetable, they use a lot of curry, and the consistency is very similar to the way in Bangladesh.
Okay, ma'am. Moving to the next question. Three things you keep in mind while judging a food platter or a dish.
Quality, taste, and presentation.
That's amazing. Now, the next question is, if you get a chance of exchanging your Instagram account with a celebrity, whom will it be?
Emma Watson.
Wow. So, to the next question, I heard that in your school days you love to participate in dramas or theater works. If you ever have a chance to replay a famous character, which character it will be?
Does it have to be a fictional or a non-fictional character?
It can be anyone.
I will be Bugs Bunny.
So, ma'am, let's go to the next question. What would you want to tell your 19-year-old self?
follow your passion, because I wasn't doing that.
If you ever get the Aladdin's lamp, what are the three wishes you would love to make?
To improve my country's education, to start my own restaurant in Dhaka, and to be able to finish my culinary school journey.
One morning you wake up and get to know you have become the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. What will be the first decision taken by you?
Child's education.
Wow. Ma'am, do you have any weird food combination that you like? Like I have heard that boiled potato tastes good with ice cream, something like that.
I have so many. I don't know which one to start with. I'm always binging on something so strange at every hour. I have this thing that I tried once where I put cornflakes and I kind of like scrunch them on, like, kind of like crumble them up on ice cream and put like raspberries and strawberries on it, and it tasted like a parfait. I was like, oh wow, this actually tastes really good. I've never thought that cornflakes would go so well with a soft serve.
That was really nice. So let's come to the last question of our rapid fire. What was the first career choice of your life you had taken in your school days?
I wanted to become an investment banker, believe it or not, and it wasn't my industry. I knew that it wasn't my industry, but I was in it for the money, the fame, the idea that everybody wanted to exchange business cards, and I felt that what I'm doing right now is so much better and feels so much more liberating than following the herd.
Yeah. So that was the end of this segment, and I must say, ma'am, you really answered those rapidly. At the same time, we have also came at the very last moment of the live session. Would you love to share some of your words with the audience who are watching the live now?
So, based on the questions that I have received, it seems that most people want to know about the future of social media marketing and digital marketing in Dhaka. With the resources that I have researched on about Dhaka's marketing sector, there isn't a lot that I can say from here because I'm not physically there to see what's happening. But what I do suggest for businesses and for youths to do is to continue researching and continue reading. Reading not only books but actually watch YouTube videos on how these changes are happening. Watch TED Talks on what the future holds, mentally, physically, psychologically, what does the future hold for us? And what better ways to learn from the geniuses online, right? And continue learning from websites like Moz, MailChimp, SEMrush, Hootsuite. These are some of the really important platforms that will give you an insight on your audience and about how to better integrate social media into your business. Continue being yourself and unapologetically yourself, and continue being you, and just don't listen to people, listen to yourself. Thank you.
Now I'm moving. Thank you, ma'am. Now I'm moving to Fariba. I would request her to wrap up the live session.
Well, that was so nice of you. You came here and gave us your valuable time. So, ma'am, thank you so much. And also, I would really like to thank you, the audience, for staying us throughout the live session and having this conversation with us. So, I'm not feeling like to end this live today, but I have to because the time is up, and so I'm ending the today's live session in here in hope that we will see each other again. So, good night, viewers, and good night, Madiha, Turshin, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the audience for listening. I love you all.